If you like the channel and want to see more videos like this, check out the links in the description below. For those who are familiar with my channel, since 2020, I have mentioned how I've gotten really into console repair, art restoration, and just fixing up old things. I decided to finally take the leap and buy a broken console with the objective to fix it. Going into this project, I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no idea how to use a soldering iron. I don't own a multimeter. I don't have any fancy tools. I do have 99% isopropyl alcohol. I don't know how to read a schematic. This is going to be shooting in the dark and seeing if we can actually do it. I do not have a fancy setup like Odd Tinkering or any of the other console repair channels. What you're going to be seeing is what I live streamed on my Twitch channel using a webcam on a little desk arm clipped to a plastic $10 table that I bought at Walmart. So this video is going to be part stream highlight and part post commentary, talking over my thought process and what I tried to do. The eBay listing said that it does get power, the light does turn on, but there is no signal sent to the TV and the disc tray doesn't spin. So we have our work cut out for us. Alright, this is the night before the stream that I attempt to fix the console. So here's my CRT. We're just gonna power this bitch on. Let's see. Yeah, nothing still. So the console, as you can see, has its light still on, so it's getting power. What I'm thinking, it's probably the fact it probably has broken capacitors or something, or maybe the port itself for display is broken. But it seems like, I don't know how well this is going to come out through my phone pointing at the screen, but there are lines. So it is trying to project something. It is finally time to fix the console on stream. The first thing I do is unscrew the shell of the console, placing these screws into an ice cube tray separated, so in the future I won't come back to them and then be confused which ones belong to which, as they're all in one pile. Next I remove the console's disc laser, which is connected in two places on the board, one by a ribbon cable and one by this small cable which seems to power it. I believe that all PlayStation 1 models can suffer from this issue, but it is far more common in the first iteration of the console SCPH-1001. On the bottom of this laser, you can see that there aren't metal rails. It is simply moved along these plastic ones. Eventually, over time, they would wear down and the laser would end up breaking. If it turns out that the laser is broken, I will have to order a replacement. But as of right now, we don't exactly know what the problem is, so it very well could be something on the board instead. Next, I have to remove the controller and memory card ports. They have a metal shield covering them that I'll have to remove first, and these ports in question are connected to the board via a ribbon cable. And anyone who happened to catch this stream live knows that ribbon cables will soon become my worst enemy. After it took me longer than it realistically should have, I was finally able to unplug the ribbon cable from the motherboard and was able to remove the controller ports. This meant I would now be able to remove the remaining few screws from what I assume is the heat shield covering the motherboard. After I finally removed these screws, all that was left was me to unplug this cable that supplies power to the main motherboard. I don't know what it is about these tiny little cables, but I'm always scared that I'm just going to rip them out and ruin them. It is something that I assume will get easier with time and experience, but I am always just deathly scared that I'm going to break these. I never know how much force is too much and how much is just the right amount, so you can actually remove this cable without damaging the internals of these wires. If anyone has some solid advice on how to actually remove these safely without being constantly paranoid and worried like I am, please leave it in the comments down below. I would love to have this information. Now that everything is out of the way, I remove the final 3 screws so I can detach the main motherboard from the console itself. I don't exactly know what I'm really looking for. I'm keeping an eye out for obvious dirty spots that I would clean with the isopropyl alcohol. Since I don't have a microscope, I don't have any real way to zoom in super hard and see if any of the chips have damaged legs or dried joints. My webcam is also not the best for just holding up the motherboard close to it and hoping that viewers will be able to see what I'm talking about. Thankfully, at the time, it did cross my mind to take some pictures of the board with my camera so I would be able to show them in post-production. So as it comes up, if I do have a picture of it, I will have it on screen in higher quality. Before this stream started, I was given what was described as the PlayStation 1 repair Bible made by some Russians, and yeah, it looks as sketchy as it sounds. Unfortunately, based on what I read from forum posts, that the original model of the PlayStation 1, the one that I'm repairing now, never had its schematics leaked, so there isn't really much information for my model in this, so all I can really do with it is reference it and hope that my model and the model they're talking about happen to have the same parts. If not, the best it can do is just maybe point me in the right direction. This is also when I started to reference other people's YouTube videos hoping that they would maybe put me in the right direction, but it seemed like all of them had different models from me, so it really wasn't that helpful. It was unfortunate that anytime I found a video that seemed to have the same issues that I did, either did not explain how they fixed it, didn't know how to fix it themselves, or happened to have a different model, so it really wasn't all that useful. The thing I discovered that happened to give me the most information was the iFixit forums. This thing was a lifesaver, but the iFixit forums didn't become a key player till later, so in the timeline now, after watching these videos and being stumped, I decided to just accept that I didn't know and I wasn't going to find out what I needed to, and to just start cleaning the board and see if that gets us somewhere. I took my 99.9% isopropyl alcohol that I'll link in the description below and poured it into the cap and started cleaning the board using Q-tips. Like I said earlier, I'm not entirely sure what I'm looking for, but anything that appears to be dirty or seems to be corrosion, I'm just going to take a Q-tip and run over it. There are a few spots on the board that happen to have these large yellow stains on them. I'm not sure if this is corrosion or leftover flux and solder from when someone tried to fix or clean the board themselves, but either way, I took my Q-tip and got to cleaning. And sure enough, after some gentle brushing with a Q-tip, these stains were removed from the board. When looking at the Q-tip, it seemed like I just removed some earwax. There was a number of these yellow stains all over the board in seemingly random places. Maybe to someone who actually understands what they're doing, seeing these stains in specific spots meant something to them, but it doesn't to me. So after a good 20 minutes or so using these Q-tips, I remembered that I used to have an electric toothbrush that had an attachment that I never ended up using. So I took it out of the package and used it for the remainder of the cleaning, especially when I wanted to try to get under some of these microchips. I know from watching Louis Rossman's MacBook repair videos that water damage corrosion is usually this turquoise or teal color. So since I don't see any of that on the board, I'm going to continue under the assumption that the reason why this isn't working is most likely a broken part somewhere on the board that isn't caused by water damage. I thought maybe we'll get lucky and it's simply just something that needs to be cleaned, or maybe it is just a broken contact or a dry joint, something that I could easily replace with some solder and my soldering iron. I should mention that since I don't have a microscope and I am a complete novice at this, even if it was a dry joint, I could be looking it dead in the face and I would never know. During my cleaning, I eventually noticed that there was one spot near the back of the board, right where you plug in the composite cables, that there seemed to be what looked like either dirt or a burn mark. The thing that really caught my attention was this little speck right here that I'm highlighting with a red circle. I did not want to scratch at it with my finger in case that it possibly damaged the board, but this made me wonder if it was the reason why I was not getting any picture when plugged into a TV. Here is what this section looks like after I cleaned it with the toothbrush. The bump is still there, but all of the other corrosion or burn marks or dirt, whatever it may be, is all gone. As of right now, since I don't know what it is and I don't know if it's actually causing a problem, I'm just going to leave it there. If anyone has an idea of what it could be, please leave a comment down below. At this point, I've cleaned up everything that looks remotely dirty. Since there's nothing left for me to do without having a definitive answer of what I need to fix, it's back to searching the internet for answers or hoping that something will put me in the right direction. And this is where the iFixit forums I mentioned earlier came into play. I saw one thread about the same model that I had having the same issue that I had. It didn't really give a clear-cut, this is the piece on the board that's going to be an issue, but it did mention something that I hadn't tried yet. They suggested to start with the power supply and make sure there wasn't anything wrong with it. Since the console was receiving power and the lights were turning on, I thought that the issue of no video would be because of the main board. Since this is the closest thing to a direct point in a direction and it's the only thing I haven't actually touched yet, I unscrewed the power supply from the console's shell, flipped it over, and sure enough, there were some spots on the bottom that looked similar to the ones that I cleaned off of the main board. After giving it a good cleaning and finding no other information that seemed relevant or useful on the internet, I decided that I've done all that I can. I may as well just put the console back together, hook it up to my CRT, and see what happens. Oh, we had image for a second. Holy shit! Wait a minute! Wait, we actually fixed it! What the fuck? What? Let's go!
No!
So I guess all it needed was just a good cleaning. Or initially, that's all it seemed like it needed. So now we know with definitive proof that I need to replace the laser. I went into fixing this console knowing that I'm probably going to have to. It was very unlikely that I wouldn't. So thanks to my kind viewers who donated to the repair fund, I bought a replacement laser and a $10 multimeter. After waiting 2 weeks for it to finally arrive, I did a second repair stream in order to install it and hope that I could finally get my PlayStation 1 to play some games. My arch nemesis, the ribbon cable, has finally reared its ugly head again, as it gave me a great deal of issue trying to reinsert it into the motherboard. One of the videos about replacing these PlayStation 1 lasers mentioned how you should try and use the original shielding from the original model on the new laser. I tried to get the shell onto this new laser, but I wasn't having any luck. Not only were the screws for both shields incredibly tight and hard to move, I simply could not get the plastic to lock into place, and the overall shape of the original shield did not fit the new laser. This meant that I would somehow have to cut off some of the plastic of the new laser shield in order to fit the cutout for the shell of the PlayStation 1 model. I decided to give the new laser a test, so I put the console back together except for putting on the top shell. When I pushed the sensor down to make the console think the lid was closed, the discs were actually spinning, but the console wasn't actually reading them. It just kept saying, "Please insert a PlayStation CD-ROM." When I came to the realization that I did not actually film this for the video, I went back and hooked up the PlayStation 1 again to do this, and this time I did not see that prompt. Instead, it just hung on this menu. While I tested this, I discovered that, hey, my controller ports don't seem to work. Thankfully, I bought that $10 multimeter, so I poked around the board until I found this piece right here that wasn't getting any response. After spending many hours going around the internet trying to find a piece that I could replace with it, I placed my order and then had to wait. Once it arrived, I came to the realization that, oh, my soldering iron that I bought at Home Depot for 20 bucks doesn't actually get hot enough to melt the pieces off the board. Plus, with my complete lack of knowledge on how to use a soldering iron, I thought that maybe the larger tip of the cheap one that I bought was too big and I needed one that was smaller, so I had my friend come over with his soldering iron, which was one of those portable pen ones, and unfortunately it didn't get hot enough either, so I had to go buy another one off of Amazon. With the new iron that could get hotter than either of the two we used previously, I was finally able to get the broken piece off the board and start my attempt to get the new one on. After getting it in place, which was incredibly difficult, especially for someone with shaky hands like mine, I poked it with the multimeter and got a response. But after putting it together, the controllers were still not working. So this means that the ribbon cable for the controller port is also probably broken. After looking around online trying to find an exact match based on what the ribbon says on it, I was unable to find one that actually fit the description. The ones that were the closest match to what I was looking for sadly did not have the same number of pins. Either they were too many or too few. I did end up ordering one thing that seemed to be what I was looking for, but it was way smaller. So unfortunately, this is the roadblock we are now stuck at. I don't know if I just need to be searching with different keywords, if manufacturers don't make it anymore, or I'm just doing something wrong. I could go on eBay and buy a completely new controller port for $15, but seeing as how much money I've already spent on this video, and the fact that I'm pretty sure I only need the ribbon, I don't want to buy the extra port that I have no use for. So we're just gonna have to call it here for now. If you know or have any idea where I can get a replacement ribbon by itself and order those online through AliExpress or any of those other tech websites, please let me know in the comments below. And if we do manage to find a replacement ribbon, I will make a part 2 showing the fully completed and fixed up version of this PlayStation 1. This has been a great learning experience. I really enjoyed doing it and making it, and hopefully with what people tell me in the comments of this video, we will eventually see a day where this PlayStation 1 works at full capacity. If you've made it this far into the video, I just want to say thanks for watching as always. If you really liked the video, please leave a like and comment, and don't forget to subscribe and pass the video around. If you really like these videos and want to see more like it, then maybe consider becoming a patron on Patreon. It is the best way to support the channel. All patrons get access to videos a day early, along with a $7 tier that allows you to view rough cuts of upcoming videos. I'm now going to shout out all of my $5 and up patrons who really help support the channel: Mitchell, Bully, Densha, Lucy the Fox, Salt and Sweet
Rum, Sir Newt Newt, Scary Dinosaur, Elliot Morton, Kohai Carmen, Lotto, Medi Not the Bad Guy, Nemphy, Quaner, Quartz, Samuel Egan, Sayan Heggy, Simply Aiden, Slemp Tingle, Swimming, Walkman, BBF in Bloxburg, NM, Revin, Cosmonaut Cola, Rovit, Ben Johnson, Buckets, Chichometrius, Cursed Void RTGC, Ekphraso, Filthy Finger 69, Fishkami, Hardleg Joe, Kevin Velasquez, Lazy Titan, Megan, Nicholas Pedinato, Jordan Bennett, Sean the Berserker Fighter, Starcasters, The Worstest Guy, Applejuice 426, William Moore, and David Roberts. Thanks so much, guys. As for what's coming out next, I'm not really sure. I have a ton of videos still in the middle of production, things of varying degree of completion. I'm also slowly chipping away at Armored Core, but who knows whenever that's going to be out because there's 15 games I have to cover, I think. So if you really want to help support me as videos take really long to make, then the Patreon really helps out. I also have a NordVPN affiliate link in the description below using my promo code, and I also have a TCG Player affiliate link in the description below. Any purchases you make while checking out using that link will give me a small kickback. And I think that's pretty much it. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and as always, thanks for watching, and see you next time.